So you've poured years of your life and probably a small fortune into your education and career. But what happens when that future you were promised just doesn't show up? It's an incredibly frustrating feeling, right? But it also begs a really powerful question. Can you actually sue the entire system when it fails you? And let's be honest, this feeling goes way beyond just simple frustration. It really feels like a broken promise, a contract that's been violated. You were told, hey, put in the years, memorize this stuff, take on the debt, and a secure future will be waiting for you. When that doesn't happen, it feels like a massive betrayal. Okay, so you feel cheated. We all get that. But how do you take that powerful feeling and actually turn it into a legal case? Can you literally walk into a courtroom and put the system on trial? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated, and frankly, a lot more interesting than you might think.
All right, first things first, let's really look at the charges against the system. To understand why so many people feel like it's broken, we have to go back and look at the promises it made to all of us, right from the start. Think about it. We all invest our time and money based on a pretty clear set of promises, right? We're told we'll get valuable skills, that doors to new opportunities will open, we'll build important networks, get the right credentials, and, of course, secure higher long-term earnings. This isn't just a vague hope, it's the fundamental deal we think we're making. And the problem kicks in when you realize that deal feels, well, totally one-sided. But here's the thing. Feelings, no matter how real and valid they are, just don't win court cases. So now we have to make a big pivot, away from our emotional truth and into the cold, hard legal reality. And trust me, understanding this difference is the absolute first step toward actually getting any kind of justice. Okay, so here is the first major roadblock, and it is a big one. There's no single world court where you can file this kind of lawsuit. All law is local. You can't sue the globe. You have to sue a specific person or organization under a specific country's laws. So that whole idea of one giant global case against the system, yeah, that's pure Hollywood fiction. And this right here is the most critical distinction you need to make. In the eyes of the law, just feeling let down because the job market is tough, that's not a case. But being deceived by a provably false promise, now that is. We have to shift our thinking from, I'm disappointed, to, I was legally wronged because of a specific misrepresentation or a clear violation of a contract. So a global lawsuit is a no-go. But does that mean you're powerless? Absolutely not. To really see what is possible, let's get specific. We're going to use the legal framework in India as a really powerful case study to show you the kinds of tools you can actually use to fight back. In India, the first tool in the toolkit is a real heavy hitter, Section 420 of the Indian Penal Code. Now, this isn't for just feeling let down. This is for straight-up cheating. We're talking about cases where you can prove an institution intentionally and fraudulently deceived you just to get your money. The burden of proof is super high, but if you can meet it, the penalties are serious. Next up, we have what is an absolute game changer for students, the Consumer Protection Act. What this law does is brilliant. It powerfully reframes education as a service that you purchase. What does that mean for you? It means if a college brochure promises 100% placement or shows you pictures of fancy labs that don't even exist, you can sue them for failing to deliver the service you paid for. And what about when you actually get into the workplace? Well, that's where labor laws become your shield. These laws are specifically designed to protect you from things like getting fired without a fair reason, being exploited for unpaid overtime, or any other way your company might violate your employment contract. It's your legal safety net against corporate malpractice. So how do you know which tool to use? This table makes it super clear. Let's say a school totally misled you about their job placement record. You'd use the Consumer Act, and you'd have to prove they made false promises. If your office fires you unfairly, you turn to labor laws and prove they violated your contract. And if you can show that an institution flat out deceived you just to get your fees, you might have a criminal case under IPC 420. Okay, knowing the law is one thing, but actually using it is a whole different ballgame. So let's walk through the practical step-by-step process of how you can take a personal grievance and turn it into a formal legal complaint. It all starts with one word: evidence. You have to keep everything, every brochure, every email, every ad, every single receipt. Step 2, you use what we just talked about to figure out which law fits your situation. Step 3, you actually file the complaint at the right place. That could be a consumer forum, a labor court, or even a police station. And just remember, if you hit a roadblock, you always have the option to escalate your case to a higher court.
So far, we've been talking about individual cases, your case against one institution. But what if your goal is bigger than that? What if you want to challenge the systemic problems that are affecting millions of people? Well, believe it or not, there's a tool for that too. This amazing tool is called a public interest litigation, or a PIL. It's a remarkably powerful feature in the Indian legal system that lets pretty much any citizen act as a voice for the public, taking huge systemic problems directly to the country's highest courts. This isn't about your personal loss. This is about demanding reform for everyone.
And a PIL doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's usually born from a long personal journey. This timeline here shows how a single person's experience, from starting school to taking out a huge loan for college to facing a brutal job market, can build up over years into the kind of evidence and conviction you need to file a PIL that demands broad, systemic change for the future.
Wow, okay. We have covered a lot of ground here, right? We've gone from personal frustration all the way to the highest courts in the land. So after all of that, what is the single biggest thing you should take away from this? If you remember one thing, let it be this. Forget about trying to sue the abstract system. It's a distraction. The real power lies in focusing all your energy on what's actually possible, taking targeted, evidence-based legal action against the specific institution that failed you. That isn't a myth. That is very, very real. And really, that brings us to our final question. We've seen that the legal tools to fight back against misrepresentation, fraud, and exploitation, they already exist. They aren't some legal fantasy. They are on the books, ready to be used. So the only question that's left is, who's going to be brave enough to pick them up and actually use them to demand change?